The moment we opened this game, something felt wrong, and I don't mean the usual wrong, like buggy menus or weird music glitches, no. This was heavier. The screen fades in, black background, and there it is, the moon, but it wasn't right. The glow wasn't steady, like the soft light you see at night. It pulsed, almost like it was breathing. The longer I stared, the more I realized it didn't even look like a rock. It looked organic. Now, normally when you boot up a horror game, you get the basics: start, options, exit. But not here, nope. Just a single word in the corner of the screen, and that word was look. I sat there thinking, okay, look at what? Is this supposed to be poetic, atmospheric, or are they just skipping the menu entirely? But then the hum started. At first, I thought it was my PC fan acting up like, great, I'm about to cook my graphics card again. But nope. It was the game, this low, droning hum that slowly grew louder. If you've ever heard static creeping into a pair of old speakers, you know exactly the sound. Thin, sharp, and unsettling, like it wanted to crawl into your ears. And then something even weirder happened. The controller vibrated. Just once, a quick jolt like a pulse. And here's the thing, the game wasn't supposed to support controller rumble. At least not according to the settings. I glanced at my friend and said, okay, this is already cursed. But of course we kept going. Because, you know, bad decisions make good content. So I moved the cursor toward that single word, look. And when we clicked it, the hum stopped, dead silence. My headphones went completely quiet. So quiet I actually tapped them to make sure they hadn't disconnected. That silence lasted maybe 5 seconds, and then the text appeared, white letters, sharp and glitchy, right in the middle of the screen. Don't look up. That was it. No intro, no context, just a warning. Now listen. If a creepy game tells you don't look up, any sane person would say, okay, cool. Not looking up, moving on. But not me, Nuo. My brain immediately went. So obviously we have to look up. And here's the part that really got under my skin. The game just sat there, waiting, like it knew what I was thinking. I swear to you, the longer I hesitated, the heavier the air around me felt. My chest tightened, my stomach sank, like I was being dared to break the rule. And then, just when I thought maybe it was in my head, the screen flickered. Once, twice, just long enough to make me lean closer. And in those flickers, I swear I saw something move across the moon's surface. Not a shadow from clouds, not a glitch, something crawling. That was the moment I realized. This wasn't going to be the kind of horror game where you laugh it off with a jump scare. This felt personal, like the game itself was waiting for me to mess up. So yeah, my heart was already racing, and we hadn't even touched gameplay yet. And trust me, what came after? That's the part nobody could have prepared us for. Because the real danger wasn't in the sky at all, it was already inside the house, asterisk. So the screen fades from black, and now we're inside the game. For real first impression, it's a living room, pretty standard, 4 walls, wooden floorboards, an old TV buzzing in the corner. The kind of room that feels too ordinary for a horror game, which somehow makes it worse. The first thing I noticed was the clock. Hanging on the wall, ticking, loud, way too loud. Every tick felt sharp, like it was inside my skull. And I know game devs love using sound design for tension, but this felt invasive. The second thing was the CRT TV. You know, that faint glow those things give off. That static buzz. It was alive. It was breathing almost. Flickering like a candle. I half expected something to appear in the static any second. But the worst thing was the window. Right above the couch, this wide square window looking out into the night sky. And of course, hanging in the middle of it, that same moon. Except now it felt bigger, closer, too close. At first, I tried to brush it off. Maybe it's just background art. Maybe it's just set dressing. But then I leaned in and realized the clouds around it were moving, drifting. But the moon wasn't. It stayed perfectly still, dead center in the glass, like it was watching us. Now here's where it gets creepy. We didn't even move yet. We were just standing in this living room, taking it all in, and suddenly the clock got louder. Tick, tick, tick. Every second felt like it was counting down to something. The lights above us flickered once, twice, then stayed dim, buzzing faintly, and the window rattled like something pressed against it from outside. And right then, new text appeared on the screen, sharp and glitchy. Stay inside, stay quiet. I laughed nervously and said, "Oh, cool. Great tutorial, step 1, live in constant fear." But honestly, that text hit different. It didn't feel like the game was talking to the character. It felt like it was talking to me, and then we saw it, a shadow, just barely in the hallway to the right of the living room. It slid across the walls slow and smooth, like someone walking, but there was nothing there, no footsteps, no sound, just a moving shadow in a house that was supposed to be empty. At that exact moment, the TV snapped louder, blaring static. And I swear, in the static, I saw a shape, not a face, not letters, more like an outline, watching. That's when the whisper started again, same distorted voice from the menu, crawling through my headphones. "Don't look up. Now, this is where my survival instincts should have kicked in. The game gave us 2 warnings already. Stay inside, stay quiet, don't look up." Any normal player would say, "Got it. Easy, obey the rules, survive the night." But not me. Oh no, my lizard brain decided. You know what would be funny? Doing the exact opposite. I turned to my friend and said, so clearly, "We have to look up now." And the look they gave me was pure disbelief. Like, "Are you seriously about to get us killed 5 minutes into the game?" Yes, I was. And this is where my heart really started pounding. Because I knew, deep down the second I tilted that camera, something was going to happen. Something we weren't supposed to see. So, with the dumb bravery of someone who's never learned their lesson, I tilted the camera toward the sky. And that's when it happened. The moon blinked. Asterisk, not like a glitch, not like bad textures, it blinked. And I staring straight at us. So we tilt the camera, and that's when my entire body went cold. The moon blinked. Not a glitch, not a texture bug, a slow, deliberate blink, lids sliding over a massive, bloodshot eye staring right back at us. And listen, I've played hundreds of horror games. I know when something's just a jump scare. This wasn't that. This wasn't loud or sudden. It was worse. It was quiet, patient, personal. The eye locked onto us, and I swear, I physically leaned away from my monitor like that would help. My friend muttered, "Nope, nope, nope," under their breath while I just froze, hands stiff on the controller. Then came the sound. It wasn't music, not ambience, a voice, low, broken, layered, like 3 people whispering over each other through a busted radio. And it said, "I see you." Now, full honesty, that was the moment my survival instinct kicked in for real. My brain went, "Turn it off, unplug, delete the game files, we're done." But my hands didn't move. It felt like the game was holding me hostage. The eye blinked again, slower this time, like it knew we were watching. And then the whole sky around it flickered just once, but enough to show vein spider webbing across the darkness, like the night sky itself was alive. And that's when it happened. The floorboards behind us creaked. You know that sound, wood groaning under weight. Except we hadn't moved. Nobody touched the controls. Something else was inside the house. I whipped the camera around. And for half a second, I swear I saw it. A tall figure at the end of the hallway. No face, no details. Just there, watching, and then static. The screen fuzzed white for maybe a split second, and when it cleared, nothing. The hallway was empty. I laughed nervously, trying to play it off. Okay, fun glitch, good job, game. You got me, but deep down, my heart was hammering so hard I felt it in my throat. And then, as if the game knew I wasn't taking it seriously, the clock on the wall started ticking faster. Tick, 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 not seconds anymore, but like a countdown. Every tick sharper, louder, closer together. I actually said out loud, Counting down to what? Which, let me just say, is the dumbest possible question in a horror game. You never want the answer to that. The lights flickered, the TV glitched, the shadow in the hallway moved again, closer this time. And then came another whisper, different from before, not "I see you." This time it hissed right through the headphones behind you. I froze. Didn't move the controller. My friend whispered, "Don't turn around." And for a second, I actually listened. I just sat there, staring at the TV screen in-game, praying nothing would happen. But of course I had to know. So slowly, I tilted the camera, and for a split second, I saw it. The figure again, closer now, standing in the doorway to the hallway. Too tall, neck bent at an angle no neck should bend, and then gone, just gone. At this point, I was sweating. I could feel my palms slipping on the controller. And the moon, oh, the moon hadn't looked away. That giant, bloodshot eye was still there through the window, unblinking, fixed on us. Tick, tick, tick. The clock was racing now. The room felt like it was vibrating with each sound. My chest tightened, like something was about to break. And then the door to the hallway creaked open, slow, hinges groaning. Every inch it moved, I felt my heartbeat climb higher. I didn't touch anything, neither of us did. The game was moving on its own now, and that's when I realized the rules weren't there to scare us. They were there because we weren't supposed to see what came next. Asterisk, because when that door opened, the house wasn't empty anymore. The door swung wider, and let me tell you, no sound in a horror game hits harder than that slow creak of a door opening by itself. It's so simple, but it's so wrong, because in games, you're supposed to be the one moving things. You press a button, doors open. You make a choice, the world reacts. But here, the game decided for me. That door opened whether I wanted it to or not. The camera pointed right at the dark hallway, and the first thing I noticed wasn't what was there, but what wasn't. There was no light, not even ambient shadows, just pitch black, like the hallway had been erased. I inched forward, controller slipping in my hands, every step making the floorboards groan. The clock kept ticking behind me, louder, faster, and I swear it wasn't just counting seconds anymore. It sounded like a heart monitor, like the house itself was alive and anxious. And then the screen flickered, one quick burst of static. And in that flicker, I saw it again, the figure, tall, too tall, shoulders scraping the frame of the hallway. Neck bent sideways, head tilted unnaturally far, like it was trying to look at me from the corner of its vision, except it didn't have eyes. Just smooth, pale skin stretched over where a face should have been. The screen snapped back to normal, hallway empty. My friend literally shouted, "Nope, nope, I'm done," while I just sat there gripping the controller like a lifeline. And then, like the game was listening to us, the TV in the living room turned on. Static filled the room. Bright, harsh, buzzing static. I flinched because the sound was way too loud, peaking into distortion. And then shapes started forming in it. Letters. Slowly, they scratched across the screen like someone carving them into the static with a knife. "Don't open the door." Now, you'd think this was the game trying to protect me, right? A warning, a lifeline. But of course, my dumb brain immediately went, "Well, guess we have to open the door." My friend groaned so loud, like they knew this was going to end badly. But here's the thing, the door was already open. We didn't even touch it. So I stepped forward, closer, every inch of that hallway swallowing me in black. The controller buzzed again, the sound cut out, total silence, and then the screen went black, like completely black. No HUD, no sound, nothing. For a second I thought the game had crashed. We sat there in silence, waiting. And that's when it happened, the whisper. But this time it wasn't through the speakers. It wasn't game audio. It came through my headset mic, behind you. I froze, not the character, me, sitting at my desk. My chest tightened so hard I couldn't breathe for a second. My friend whispered, "Dude, it's not funny if you're doing that voice." But I wasn't. I swear to you, I wasn't. And then the game came back, The living room was there again, the clock ticking, the TV buzzing. Everything looked normal. Except the door. The door was wide open now, waiting. And here's the part that really stuck with me. I couldn't tell if the danger was supposed to be inside the game, or if the game was trying to tell me there was something behind me. So, like an idiot, I pushed forward, step after step into that darkness, the controller vibrating in short pulses, like a heartbeat. And then there it was, the visitor, no flicker this time, no static, just standing there, clear as day, halfway down the hall. A long, stretched silhouette, arms dangling to its knees. Its head twitched once, like a broken marionette string. And then it started to move, slow, dragging one leg, step, step, step. I swear I stopped breathing. My friend went silent too. We just sat there in pure stillness, watching it creep closer. And then, before it could reach us, the screen glitched. It blinked away. 1 second it was there, the next it was gone, and in its place, the moon through the window. Bigger, closer, the eye unblinking, staring at me. That's when it hit me. We weren't just dealing with something outside. It was in the house now, with us. Asterisk, and from this point forward there was no hiding. Asterisk, so here we were. The hallway behind me, the visitor gone, and the moon pressed up against the window like it wanted in. I swear it was closer than before. No stars, no sky, just that enormous pale surface filling the glass, veins of cracks running through it like an eye straining to stay open. And just when I thought it couldn't get weirder, the house started to breathe. I'm not exaggerating, the walls literally expanded and contracted, the wallpaper stretching and peeling back like lungs gasping for air. Each breath shook the floorboards beneath my character's feet, and I could feel it in my hands through the controller vibrations. My friend whispered, "Bro, what are we even playing?" But the game didn't give us time to answer, because the whisper came back. Not through the speakers, not through the headset mic, both at once layered. Dozens of voices overlapping in perfect sync, like a chorus of people breathing into my ear. Hide. The lights went out. Every single bulb popped in a sharp burst of static. I was plunged into total black, only the dim glow of the moon outside giving the room any shape. And that's when we heard it, the footsteps, slow, deliberate, dragging across the wooden floor, not my character's. Not mine, something else moving inside the house. The screen flashed white for a second, like a camera shutter, and suddenly I was crouched behind the couch. The game had forced me into a hiding spot, no button pressed, no choice, just thrown there, like the game knew what was coming. And then the hallway filled with static again. The visitor returned, except this time it wasn't flickering in and out. No, this time it was hunting. Its body twisted unnaturally as it crawled into the living room, one limb at a time, long arms scraping the walls, head jerking violently from side to side. It moved like it didn't understand how bodies were supposed to work, like it was mimicking a human badly. And here's the worst part. It sniffed. Yeah, it leaned forward, dragging its long torso across the floor, and let out this horrible wet sniffing sound, like it was smelling the air for me. I held my breath without even realizing it. My friend whispered, don't move, like somehow that would help, even though it was just a game. The thing stopped, just inches from where I was crouched. I could see the texture of its skin, gray, stretched, veiny, almost translucent. Its face leaned in close to the couch cushion, no eyes, no mouth, just smooth skin, and then it twitched, snapped its head back like it heard something, but it wasn't in the game, it was in my room, because right then something behind me creaked. I whipped my head around in real life so fast my headphones almost flew off. Nothing. Empty room. But my chest was pounding like it was going to break open. The screen flickered again. The visitor stood upright now, towering over everything, its limbs stretching longer than before. And then, one by one, more shapes appeared behind it. Not one moon, not one visitor, dozens. Every window in the house now showed a different moon, each one with cracks shaped like veins, each one staring down into the house like giant eyes. And in the shadows of the room, smaller visitors began crawling out of the walls. The whispers grew louder. Thousands of them now, overlapping, filling every inch of my headphones until I couldn't even think straight. Hide, hide, hide. But where, the game let me move again, and I bolted for the kitchen, slamming the character's body under the table. The camera tilted violently, like the game itself was panicking, and then, silence, all the visitors froze. Every single one, their heads jerked up in unison, as if listening to something far away, and then the screen went black. Total silence. For a few seconds I just sat there, controller shaking in my hands, wondering if the game had crashed again. But then, words carved themselves into the darkness. You can't hide forever. And right as those words faded, the sound of breathing filled my headphones. Not the characters, not the visitors, mine. It had recorded me, my own breathing, played back to me through the game. Asterisk. And that's when I realized the game wasn't just showing me monsters. It was listening. You know how most horror games give you that one last chance to fight back, or escape, or at least save? Yeah, not this one. The screen stayed black for what felt like forever. Just that sound of my own breathing echoing back at me, warped and glitching like it was being stretched through static. Then, without warning, the game threw me into first person, no HUD, no pause. Menu, nothing, just me, standing in the living room of the house, moonlight flooding and so bright it washed everything out. The visitors were gone, but the house wasn't the same. The wallpaper peeled off in strips, curling like dead skin. The floorboards buckled upward, one by one, until it looked like the whole room was collapsing in on itself. And outside the windows, the moon wasn't just close anymore. It was touching the glass, pressed up against it like a giant, cracked eyeball, staring inside. My stomach dropped. My heart was racing so fast I had to pause just to remind myself I was breathing, and then the voices came back, but not whispers this time. Screams, hundreds of them, layered on top of each other, a wall of noise that nearly blew out my headset. Every scream was different. Men, women, kids, all overlapping into this horrifying chorus. And as they screamed, the cracks in the moon spread wider, glowing red like something inside was trying to break free. The floor gave way under my character's feet. Suddenly, I was falling through endless black. My controller shook so violently I thought it was going to break apart. The screams twisted into laughter, and then, with a bone-jarring slam, I landed. The screen flickered, and I was standing in front of a mirror. My reflection stared back, except it wasn't me. It was breathing heavier. Faster, its chest rising and falling like it was suffocating, and as I watched, its skin split. The cracks spread across its face, glowing red from underneath, until the reflection wasn't me at all. Anymore, it was the visitor, and then it moved on its own. It lifted its hand, reached toward the glass, and the glass shattered. Shards flew everywhere, and my screen froze on one final image. My reflection, no, the visitor, climbing through the broken mirror toward me. The game didn't crash. It didn't cut to black. It just shut itself off. No game over. No main menu, no save file. Just gone. My desktop sat there, silent, like nothing had happened, and then my webcam light flicked on. For a second, I thought maybe Discord opened, or some background app, but no. The game had used my camera. I saw my own face reflected on my dark monitor, pale and white. Died, and right there at the bottom corner of the screen, one final message appeared. Don't look up. And I swear I couldn't stop myself. I looked, and for just a split second I thought I saw it. Not on the screen, not in the game, behind me, tall, silent, waiting, and then nothing. Just my empty room. But I shut my PC down right there, unplugged it, sat in silence for 10 minutes, trying to convince myself it was just a game. But I'll tell you right now, I haven't opened that file since. Because if a game knows my voice, if it can use my camera, what happens next time I press play? Asterisk safe to say we are never opening that game at night again, or maybe ever, but hey, if you're brave enough to try it yourself, don't say I didn't warn you, and whatever you do, don't look up. Asterisk.